to Divinely Driven Results. I am your host, Elise Smith, Christian business strategist who empowers Christian women entrepreneurs, especially in the service-based industry, to reach their sales goals by empowering their mindset, utilizing biblical business strategy, and partnering with God. Here on this show, we're going to talk about the things that might be holding you back from the success that you're looking to achieve and give you real strategies for divine success in your business. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something that we all face all the time, is seeing other people's success around us. In fact, my incredible guest today actually talks about compare-anoia. So we're going to talk about that for sure. But have you ever seen and almost been jealous? We've all been there, other people's success, and that they're, moving faster than you are and you're feeling like you're getting behind, or maybe you're taking hit after hit and you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed in your business, or that you don't have time for joy or hobbies. Believe me, I've been there before. Well, we're going to be able to talk to you about some incredible tips to help you get through compare-anoia, to really build up that resilience in a joyful way and find the success that you are looking for. So our incredible guest is Stevie Dawn Carter, and she is the CEO of Stevie Dawn Inspires. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to talk to you and just share this topic, because as you said, it's something we all go through.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. So I'm a professional speaker and motivational coach, and I work out of Mansfield, Texas, which for those of you who may not be in Texas, it's a little bit south of Fort Worth. That's all you need to know. And, my journey really started as an educator. I did education as a dancer for many, many years. And then I did education in the K through 12 classroom and then the college classroom. And really what I learned through all of that is my gift is a gift to teach. I love to teach people. That fills my heart and my soul and my spirit. And so as I was moving through my journey in entrepreneurship, and it is a journey for us all, I really felt that my calling was to speak on stage and share messages with larger and larger audiences, and that's where I could make my impact. And so today people hire me to unleash their unstoppable success, because most of us are stuck with unrealized profits we wish we had, or unlived aspirations for life, or what I think we all deal with at some points is just underwhelming results of what we're trying to do. And so I try and work with people on their mindset and their confidence and their business structure to really help them move through that. And a lot of that for me has come down to emotional resilience and your ability to bounce back from tough times.
Absolutely. I love that definition you just gave too, the ability to bounce back after tough times, because we're going to have them. Like, we are put on this earth to go through trials. In fact, there's a scripture in Isaiah that actually talks about how, don't think it odd or strange to go through trials. Like, it's part of our life, and it's absolutely part of our business journey, because we can get stronger and learn the amazing lessons that God has for us to learn through those, not only for ourselves, but for other people. So let's talk about this compare-anoia concept. I love that phrase, by the way. So tell us a little bit more about why that's such an important topic for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, I cannot take credit for the name. Somebody else created it, but I saw it on a website one day and it just stuck with me and has stuck with me for years. And it's this idea, I think, of we see other people's success, and so we compare ourselves, but then we get paranoid that we're not doing enough. Or I think for a lot of us that we aren't enough. Which then creates this cycle of just negativity and doubt on ourselves. And I think it turns us inward, and it keeps us small, and it keeps us from living our dreams and living our purpose. And so that idea for me of compare-anoia is, I do that every day on social media. I think social media is what has caused compare-anoia for a lot of people. I'm sure we had it before then, but right now it seems very obvious, because I can absolutely scroll through my feed and see people who I'm like, they started business after me. but they're making so much more money, or at least it appears that they're making so much more money. And I start comparing. And I think one of the most important lessons I had to learn in business was everybody's on their own journey, their own path, and God has timing. And so you have to believe in your perfect timing. And it's not going to be the same as everybody else's because you're not on the same path. But it's so easy to get stuck in that negative cycle of watching other people and comparing ourselves and getting upset with ourselves for what we aren't achieving or aren't moving fast enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I remember working with one of the coaches that I used to work with, and she's a business coach, and she does, very similar things that I do, it's just not in the Christian world, right? And so I would compare, like Compare-anoia was a huge thing for me at that moment, because I would look at her and I would say like, wow, she's been in business about as long as I have, and look at, like, she's a multi-millionaire and all this kind of stuff. And I remember taking it to the Lord, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to feel this way anymore. And so Heavenly Father helped me to kind of shift my mindset and say, look what's possible, right? Not what you don't have, but look what's possible. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's such a beautiful reframe, right? Because the truth is that whenever you see somebody who's succeeding, that should always be your first thought. Well, I know it can happen. I know it's not just a dream. I know it's not just a myth. I see it. And if you see it, you can be it. So in some ways, we need to see the success that we desire so that our brain starts to believe it can be true. And so I think seeing other people succeed is a part of our own success. But you're so right. It's about reframing that to say, I'm seeing what's possible. They're showing me a way that it can be done. So I don't need to doubt if it's possible. It's proven.
Yeah.
I just need to know that I'm going to get there in my way and at my time.
Ooh, I hope you guys wrote that down, because it gave me goosebumps. If you can see it, you can be it. Yeah. Wow, that is so powerful. And if we start looking at that, then it's collaboration versus competition, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Then we can start really connecting with each other. And, we're all doing the same thing. We're all just trying to serve other people in the way that God has given our gifts and our talents. And it always makes me think of the scripture, and I can't remember where it's at right now, but it's run the race that you're meant to run. I love how you say that it's having faith and belief in God's perfect timing for you, because it is perfect. How have you seen that in your business?
Oh gosh, so many ways. I think, one of the ways that I see God's perfect timing in my own world is there are opportunities that I didn't get early on in my business, right? Like I applied for things or I tried for things and I didn't get them. And I would always beat myself up, right? Like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't whatever enough. Yeah. I've had those same opportunities come back and beg me to do them.
Wow.
And I think to myself, that's because I wasn't ready for that opportunity yet. Now I can step into that opportunity. I have an example that just happened this week. I have an opportunity to speak in front of a crowd of about 450 people, which I do all the time, but I love it. And it still gets me a little nervous, right? And I think a little nerves are good. Even as a speaker, it's good for you. So what I realized is this is a company that I applied to be a speaker years ago. And I was really nervous about it because at that time I had never spoken in front of a group that big. I had never done like a keynote conference thing at that time. And so it seems so large. And so when I didn't get it, I was like, well, kind of like, phew, I didn't get it because I was not ready. But now I'm ready. And God knows I can do this now, And so I think there's so many examples of that in my life where things have come into my life at the moment that I was ready to do them. And I think that that's what we have to have faith in. And it's not always a revenue goal. It's not always a timing goal, but it's an impact goal, right? If you phrase your goals around the impact you want to have and how you want to feel about it, you'll always reach those goals when you release time, because God knows what's on your heart. He's going to make sure you get that. It's just going to be at the time that you're going to appreciate it the most, that it's going to be the most meaningful for you, and that you're the most ready for that opportunity. And so I can look at this stage that I get to go stand on now and say, you know what? I wasn't ready really for this 5 years ago, but I'm absolutely ready for it now. So that's perfect timing.
I love it. I love your confidence and that power. And oh, yes, exactly, girl. Totally agree. So Compareanoia, I think we can all relate to, and it really is about just shifting your mindset around that and looking for the positive in that situation, right? That now you're ready for it, or that it will appear when you are ready, or when it's meant to happen, and trusting in God's perfect timing. So let's talk about resilience, because I think that goes perfectly into from Compareanoia to resilience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have to be resilient as business owners because we're all going to have tough times. Mm-hmm. And I think, one of the best things that we can do is to rest, but not quit. I'm a big believer in rest when you need to rest, but I also am a quitter. I am somebody who will give up. And one of the things I've had to learn is to not do that, right? To not give up and keep going and keep moving. And that's a skill I had to learn way before entrepreneurship, because that was my life. But I had to learn how to bounce back from tough times. And I have realized in being an entrepreneur, that skill set to pick myself up after a hard day, to pick myself up after a bad sales call, that's why I'm still in business 8 years later. Mm-hmm. And I see some of my friends and some of my big supporters and people I love who they couldn't pick themselves back up. Mm-hmm. And that meant they decided to close their business and go a different direction with life. And I'm sure that was the best thing for them. But there's an element of that resiliency is necessary, and we have to cultivate it every day, because it's not something you're just born with. You have to cultivate that resiliency because things are going to knock you down. Mm-hmm. And being able to take that moment, process it, and go, and I get back up again is one of the key features, I think, to being a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah. And someone once taught me that it's not that you go into maybe depressive mode or that you feel bad about it or something like that. It's how long you allow yourself to stay there, right? Because when you get hit, of course, you're going to feel like you have been knocked out of you, or, that you, of course, you're going to go through those so-called negative or disempowering emotions, but it's up to you on how long you allow yourself to stay there. Just like you said, those people, unfortunately, they stayed there too long and it stopped their business or their success or their goals that they were going for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think an object at rest stays at rest. So there's an element of, you're absolutely right. I think we all feel the down.
Yeah.
We feel the down, we feel the negative. And I think you have to. In order to appreciate the up, you got to feel the down. So I think you have to have that moment. But you're so right about how long do you stay there? Yeah. People who stay there too long, world passes them by, life passes them by, and opportunities run dry. Mm-hmm. So for me, I actually, if this helps anybody, it might sound like the craziest, kookiest thing you're going to hear today, but I have a wallow timer. I have a wallow timer. It's a 5-minute timer on my phone. And I always tell myself when something goes wrong, when somebody doesn't buy on a sales call, or when I stumble in one of my presentations, and I hate stumbling over something I've done 5,000 times, any of those kinds of moments, right? Where I start to beat up on myself, I start to feel down, I give myself 5 minutes. I give myself 5 minutes to feel it, to cry, to yell, to whatever I need to do to feel better. I give myself 5 minutes. And when the alarm goes off, I got to get myself up and I got to keep going.
Love it.
And just having that has shifted how long I stay down. Now, am I magically better in 5 minutes? Not usually, but it's a note to my brain, but it's time to get back, right? It's time to bounce back and keep moving forward. And that has helped me to not stick in those negative cycles for so long.
That is genius, guys. Like take that and run with it. Though the wallow time, I think that is something I'm going to start implementing. We do, different things like writing out our feelings and things, like writing them out and ripping it up, I think is how it goes. So you could do that in your 5 minutes if you want to, or I think I'm learning myself is that you do have to feel those emotions, because I'm a stuffer, man. Like, no, I'm totally fine, I'm just gonna move on to the next call, we're good to go. And then like 5 days later I cry
it hits you,
like spilled milk, right? And so it is important for us to feel that. And I love the fact that you set that timer, especially for that mindset of just, okay, now we're going to shift on to something else. And I'm sure if you start to reframe that as you're shifting, that it's like, okay, we're going to start looking for the positive in the situation. Like,
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And, I was doing a presentation just yesterday on cultivating happiness for a corporation that I work with. And one of the things I said, and I think it applies here to resilience as well, is, there really aren't bad days. There are bad moments within a day. And those bad moments can make you feel like, oh, this day was horrible. But there really aren't bad days. There's a lot of good in every day, but we don't look for it. We look for the bad. It's easy to identify the bad. Identifying the good is harder. So by having that wallow timer, I'm forcing myself to say it was a 5-minute episode. Right? It was 5 minutes of my day. It was not my whole day. And I now need to get up and make the rest of the day great. And what I have found is by setting myself that, I'm able to bounce back faster. And at the end of the week, if somebody asks me, how did your week go? I don't focus on that bad moment, because it was 5 minutes of life and there's been a whole lot of life.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I love it. Okay. So we've only got just a couple minutes left, but for those who are watching this as a video, I'm sure they're looking at your sharks in the background, which I love. I think it's so cool that you have that in your brand. Can you tie in the shark concept with success?
Yeah, absolutely. So quick 1-minute backstory. I was a professional dancer before I switched careers. And in that career, I used to travel the world and dance in these competitions. And I got to a point, as any professional athlete or even athlete, even if you played Little League, you understand this concept, you plateau. You get to a point where you're just not winning anymore and you've just kind of gotten in this settled section. And I got there. And so I was planning on retiring. I had been doing it for decades. You know what? Maybe I should just retire. So I called my mom and I'm like, I think this last competition is going to be the end. I'm not moving up. I'm not doing well. And she asked me this question, and this is something every person should ask themselves. What do they have that you don't have? And I said, of course, 5,000 things: grace, talent, flexibility. They're younger. That was a big one for me in that moment. They're much younger than me. And she goes, no, I don't think that's it at all. She goes, I think they're not trying to prove they belong. You are. She goes, you need to go out there and, here's where she said it, be the shark. She goes, think about it. A shark, they're not worried about the minnows. They're not worried about the other creatures in the sea. They know they're the predator. They know they're in charge. They own their ocean. She goes, you need to see that dance floor as your ocean, and you just need to go out and own it, because you've already proven you belong. And for whatever reason, she says it was because she was watching sci-fi movies that day. And so she had sharks on the brain. I don't know why. We had never talked sharks before. I was terrified of them, all the things. But that phrase, be the shark, stuck with me. And so at my next competition, I thought that in my head, and I went out there and I had a blast. Probably my most favorite competition I had ever done. And I won, which I hadn't done in 3 years. And I continued to win the next 14 contests that I entered. And so I tell people all the time, people would say, well, what did you do? Did you learn? Did you go take lessons? Like, did you get new shoes? Like, what did you do? That's so different. And I said, the only thing I changed was up here. That's the only thing I did. I didn't get magically better. I just stopped trying to prove anything to anybody. And I went out there knowing my own strength. And so I think when we think about success, I like to say that our success is unstoppable, that we are limitless as humans. And I do believe we are. I think everybody has greatness inside them. We limit ourselves by trying to prove things for other people instead of living for us and for him. And when you go into that and you don't have to prove anything because you know you belong, then all of a sudden your confidence skyrockets. You're more willing to put yourself out there for opportunities, and your success becomes unstoppable. And so I made that a part of my brand. As you can see, it surrounds me. I have all kinds of, I always say there are technically always 6 sharks within arm's reach of me at all times. And the whole house is decorated that way, by the way, which some people find a little off-putting, but we love it in our family. Our whole house is decorated in sharks. And it's just become a mantra for me and for my clients to just own your ocean.
I love that. I'm terrified of sharks. So when I first saw the picture, I was like, okay, this has got to be a really good story. And so,
well, trust me, I was terrified for years. It isn't until she did this that then I decided to get over my fear. And I have actually gone cage diving with great white sharks, which is where that photo of the great white comes from.
Wow.
So, yeah.
There's so much there, right? Like of taking that fear and becoming, that person who's so strong to own, who you are as a daughter of God. And you're an incredible daughter of God. So thank you so much for being on this show today. If people want to know more about, what you have going on, please tell us. How can they find you and what do you have for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to keep track of me is, like I said, Compare-anoia. I'm on social media all day long. So it's at Dr. Stevie Dawn, at Dr. Stevie Dawn. And my website is www.drsteviedawn.com. So it's really easy to find me and everything we're doing. We got a lot going on right now. So I would love to just connect with people and share some of the things that we've got going on. But if anybody wants to reach out to me after this podcast and say, hey, I saw you with Elise and it was so amazing, then you know what? We've got some eBooks I can send you. We've got some free training I can send you, because I think that it's shows like this that change people's lives. And so if I can be a part of that, then I'm happy to. So please reach out and connect with me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Stevie Dawn. You have been amazing. I am never going to look at sharks the same way again. I will see them in such a more powerful and positive light. So that's great. And if you guys want even more tips and tricks on how to build your business in the Lord's way, make sure you come join our Faithful Ladypreneurs Facebook group. We would love to have you. So check out Dr. Stevie Dawn on social media and come check out Faithful Ladypreneurs. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.